After Alana left the room, I would just still be a bundle of tears, despondent, thinking that I'm going to die because of some stupid ass mistake. And I just can't stop crying. I cannot stop crying. But I can't call anybody because I don't want to alarm them. Nobody inside my inner circle. I tried, but I hung up the phone because I'm like, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't alarm people. So my second angel in care was my nurse for the day, Junior, who also, like Alana, sensed that something was going on with me, but never said, how are you doing? What are you doing? He just made it feel like he cared. Junior really cared. He really helped me in his days that he was with me as my nurse. He was an angel. Junior, I can't thank you enough for how you were with me. He just talked to me just about various things. And it helped. But when he'd leave the room, right back to tears. Couldn't deal with it. I just couldn't deal with it. My brain was just in a place where it felt like something bad was going to happen. I have multiple procedures still coming. But I just felt like something bad was going to happen. Whether that was an accurate feeling or not, I don't know. But that was my feeling. I don't remember what time exactly, but at some point I was informed that I needed to have potassium as an IV. It was planned as a 6-hour drip. Maybe somebody out there has had a potassium IV before. But I was warned by Junior that it was going to be painful. He did not lie. He brought in an ice pack. He said, it's going to feel hot. Now, at the same time, I'm getting sodium bicarbonate drips, which is just a normal cool feeling drip. And if they're both working at the same time, it's manageable. It's not that bad. But if the sodium bicarbonate drip machine had a problem, which it was still having all day, alarms going off all day, the Junior came in and handled quickly every single time. He never made me feel like he didn't care. He was always on it, always trying to get my machine working as fast as he could. But sometimes I'd have to be 5 minutes with the sodium bicarbonate off and the potassium on. And let me tell you, potassium IV feels like you are having liquid fire poured into your body. It is that hot. You need an ice pack to be able to deal with the heat of that with the sodium bicarbonate going. So it was pain, real pain, while I was having this. But I figured out a little hack, and maybe this hack will help somebody somewhere out there in the world, which was to tap my fingers like I was playing the piano. And it made the heat not feel as bad, because where you feel the heat is right at the point where it goes in the IV and probably about 2 feet up your arm. And doing that made it so that it was kind of manageable. I'm not really sure if it was related to other things, but that seemed to work for me whenever the alarm would go off. It also helped that I was on the phone all day during the potassium IV. But those were not good conversations. I wanted to talk about putting a will together because I didn't have a will. And that sent a lot of people down a bad path, thinking that I was thinking I was going to die. And it wasn't about that. It was about making sure I was prepared for death if it happened. That's all it was. Making sure my affairs were in order. But things got dark for everyone around me, including me. And I was not happy. Nobody was happy. And things went to really dark places. And that's as much as I'm going to say about that. And Kara still had not come back to the hospital yet. She was not going to come back till the nighttime. I didn't really want her there at that point because of the darkness I was in. I don't know exactly what time it was. It was probably around 9 o'clock on Saturday night. I just finished my 5th potassium IV. Gotten through it. I had one more left. I said, I need to go to the bathroom. And my nurse, who at this point, the changeover had happened, and I cannot for the life of me remember that guy's name. He wasn't as bad as Sarit. He did care to a certain extent. He was attentive for the most part. But the events that happened next were mind-blowing, is the way that I would describe them. The reaction that I got to what was going on with me. So I go and I pee, and I'm heading back to my bed to get rehooked into the IVs. And I knew that I was about to throw up. And I sprinted, and I am not in good shape physically at this point. I sprinted to the toilet. And my event of throwing up was just like the events that led me into the hospital, but worse. Just like that. I had nothing in my stomach. And I am vomiting up whatever comes up. And it is violent. Violent. Exactly like the first time that I told you about in the previous video. And because he has his cart in the room, the door is open. Kara just happened to show up at that moment. And she heard me vomiting from all the way down the hallway. And came in. And I'm freaking out. I'm thinking this is a moment. This is my I'm about to crash moment. Because it's the first time that I'd thrown up since I've been in the hospital. And it was horrific throwing up. Worse than what put me in the hospital. Longer. More painful. Louder. I have no idea what's going on. And I'm telling the nurse that I'm very concerned about this. And he just looks at me with a blank stare. Like, I don't know what you want me to do. And I just can't handle this. I am at my wit's end, wondering if I'm about to crash. Something's going wrong. I can't hold in potassium. Is that what's going on? Because for days, pills hadn't absorbed at all. Drinks hadn't absorbed at all. And now I just had 5 potassium IVs. And after the 5th one, it caused me to have horrific vomiting. I asked him, I said, can I take a break from the potassium? And he said, okay. And so he starts the sodium bicarbonate again. And I'm laying in the bed. And by this point, my voice is like Barry White. It is super deep. I am slurring. Kara says I don't sound like myself. I sound like a different person. My brain does not appear to be functioning properly. But I am in a different headspace at this point. And as I'm sitting there with the sodium bicarbonate, laying in the bed, I'm feeling this pressure on the left side of my body, on my back. And I'm like, oh my God, I feel like I'm blown up like a balloon. And I call the nurse and I ask him if I can get a break from the sodium bicarbonate. And he says I can. And the moment I get off that, I get out of the bed, I sit down in the chair, and I say to Kara, let's do my will right now. And we just write it out in a basic way, just in case I crash, because I don't know what's going on. I felt like my body was being poisoned. And while we're sitting there, in that 45 minutes after that, I notice that everything is coming back to normal. I'm feeling lucid. I don't feel weird anymore in my body like I'm being poisoned, like it's all just draining right out of me. I become me again within 20-25 minutes just by getting off these stupid drips because my fluids had apparently done enough and they just kept going way past where they needed to the point that it was, for lack of a better word, I felt effed up. I didn't sound like me. I didn't look like me. I apparently wasn't acting like me. But the moment I had them pull me off that stuff for good, I returned to me Within 45 minutes, I was myself again. My voice sounded normal. There was no slurring. And I was completely lucid.